Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building a house in the world of Del Sol Valley, which is the world that we got with the expansion pack The Sims 4 Get Famous, and I'm going to be building a starter house. So this house is actually built in the neighbourhood which is called Mirage Park, which is kind of like the starting point neighbourhood in the world of Del Sol Valley. Now the world itself is actually quite small considering we got this with an expansion pack. The world actually only has 3 different neighbourhoods. It's kind of like a community neighbourhood that's got like gyms, it's also got a few bars, it's definitely got a museum. Everyone knows about that museum in Del Sol Valley. It's definitely an eyesore, but there's kind of like the community area. Then there is also the pinnacles, which is where your more rich and famous Sims are going to live. Your Sims, if you just moved them straight from CAS and you wanted them to move into a house, probably not going to be able to live there. And so then there is Mirage Park, which is kind of like the starting point for your Sims to move in. Now, whenever you think of a starter house in The Sims 4, you think of a lot size that's maybe a 20 by 15, maybe you want to push the boat out and go for a 20 by 30. But for some reason Del Sol Valley didn't get that memo, and the lot sizes are so abnormally big it makes absolutely no sense, and they're quite awkward lots as well. Now what I mean by awkward is if you normally think of like a house in Willow Creek or a house in Newcrest or wherever, normally and typically the lot will kind of cut off by the pavement or by the sidewalk, and then normally you can have like a nice little driveway or maybe even a pathway leading up to a porch, and it kind of seems seamless and your house kind of fits in, your build fits in with the rest of the world. Now for this particular lot that is also not the case, and for some reason the lot cuts off in the middle of the grass, which is so annoying to build with. And so what you actually have to do is you actually have to use terrain paint to kind of manipulate it to make it seem like the path, which was kind of in like outside the lot boundaries, is kind of longer than what it is, and that path is kind of like the pavement. And so what I actually did is I used a base game terrain paint and I kind of extended that path to make it seem a little bit bigger. And then also, as you can see on the side of this house, I also tried to manipulate it to be smaller. Now if you actually look at the surrounding area to this house and just kind of like the neighbourhood in general, you'll actually notice all of the houses are quite small and there's not a lot of space in between them. They're kind of like squished together, and I wanted to give the same effect with this house. I didn't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. I wanted it to blend in with the rest of the world. So what I actually did is I created this little fake alleyway on one side. I used some live edit bushes, which are actually the same ones that are in this surrounding neighbourhood, and I actually put them on the lot, and then I actually used some debug fences to kind of create like a little fenced in area, which kind of makes it seem like an alleyway. You will also see me in a little while actually go into the alleyway and just kind of decorate it a little bit more and clutter it up. I wanted it to seem like an actual alleyway and it's not part of your Sims house. So I actually went down there and I placed some graffiti. I use a debug graffiti that's kind of like doesn't cost your Sims any simoleons, because obviously we are working on a budget, but I put some graffiti down there on some of like the fences as well as on the side of a garage. I felt like maybe teenagers maybe would be walking down there over night time. They got a hold of some spray cans and they decided to spray the side of your Sims garage. I felt like that would be quite realistic. I also added some eco lifestyle kind of like clutter to that alleyway. I kind of put some like rubbish. There's kind of like old newspapers and food boxes and just general like rubbish on the floor. I also added some bins down there. I just basically tried to replicate an actual alleyway but on this lot to make it seem like the lot was a lot smaller than what it actually is. And I felt like if I would have actually not done that and I would have just had the lot to be without an alleyway, the lot would just look so weird and it just wouldn't fit in any way, shape or form. And so I'm so happy that I actually decided to do that little alleyway. As you can see, the fence I've actually used isn't a fence that you can normally get in your normal build and buy. Now I am one to use a lot of live edit menu items and a lot of debug menu items in literally every single one of the builds that I do, and this build was no different. I kind of wanted to create this kind of like custom fence. Now when I was building this, like I've mentioned, I wanted this house to fit in with the rest of the world. Now I do actually want to mention before I forget, I actually built the structure and the shape of this house based off the house which is next door. So if you wanted to download this house and you placed it into this particular lot in your game, if you actually went into tab mode and you looked at the house next door, I basically replicated the shape of that house but then just built it on this lot. I did change the roof colour and I also did different wallpapering and I also chose different windows and doors, but ultimately I wanted the structure of the house to be the same, and I kind of wanted it to seem like the house that was built next door, even though it's not a house that your Sims can interact with, it was built at the same time as your Sims house. And I'm kind of doing doing like this thing in my save file where in particular neighborhoods, not in every single neighborhood, but I'm trying to do a similar kind of thing to that. Whether I built a house that's maybe got the same type of windows and doors to the neighboring house, or maybe the same type of wallpaper, I just feel like it fits in quite nicely. But anyway, getting back to the fence. So the fence I actually use is actually 3 different pieces of fencing. Now they're all from the live edit menu, and what I actually did is I placed down this one white kind of like brick fence on the bottom, and then I actually merged in this metal bar kind of fence into it, so it looked like the metal bars were coming out of the wall, and then I just closed it off with 2 posts on either side. Now, not the house that's not directly next to this lot, but the one that is next to the neighbouring lot, if that makes any sense. Basically, one of the houses in the surrounding neighbourhood actually had this type of fence, and I just really liked it, and I really wanted to implement it into this build, and so I put it on either sides of this lot. I did also use some more live edit fencing at both the back of the lot and then at the front of the lot as well. At the back of the lot, I used the iron fencing that I kind of merged into the brick wall, just kind of like as a single object. And then I used some fencing which we got from both Strangerville and Eco Lifestyle. They're both in the live edit menu from both of them packs, and just kind of like merged it in together. There is a fencing that's also in kind of like some of the surrounding areas, and if you go into the alleyway out the back, you'll see that fence quite a lot, and I just kind of wanted to implement it into this build to make it seem like it fitted in. And then the fence at the very front of the lot is the same fence that is on the direct neighbours lot. I feel like I've been talking about fences for about 10 minutes, but I just kind of wanted to explain, in case you were curious, how I did the fences. All the fences are from the live edit menu. I do have a cheat installed into my game which allows me to access the live edit menu in my normal build and buy, and it's just easily turned on or turned off. It's in the description box down below if you're curious, alongside with my reshade and also the red shelf that I use in some of my videos. But moving on from that and actually talking about the build itself is designed to be a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. I designed it so if you had a single sim move in straight from cash, you didn't have to use any money cheats. It's literally using the starting budget that you actually get when you first open the game and you first design a new sim. You can kind of see in the bottom left hand corner the simoleons are kind of going down and down and down throughout the video as I continue to buy stuff and just kind of build stuff. But I did actually use it as a starting budget for 1 sim. Now obviously if you wanted to move into this house and maybe you had 2 sims, you're going to have a lot more money, but I did just base it on the fact of you had 1 sim. Also, I do want to mention, because I haven't actually mentioned it so far in this video, but something that I'm actually doing for my save file is all the starter houses aren't going to be fully decorated houses. Now, with my save file, I've decided that I actually want you to make the starter houses so when you move in, there's a kitchen and there's a bathroom, and you'll have some money to like kind of left over in your budget to actually buy yourself a bed, and you can decorate the house yourself, because I didn't want to design starter houses to be for particular sims, because starter houses are going to be houses that your sims move into straight from CAS. I didn't want to design a starter house maybe for an artist, or maybe for, I don't know, a vet, and you have a detective move in or a criminal move in, because then that house is not going to be decorated to your sim and your sim style. And so I've decided to do it in a way so you move in your sim from CAS, it's got a fully kind of functional kitchen and it's got a bathroom. It basically covers the bathroom needs and the kitchen needs, but you'll have enough simoleons left to buy your sim a bed, maybe a laptop, and maybe some other things that you want to decorate your house with. I just really like this idea. Now, I'm not the first person to do this, and I want to give credit where credit is due. I know that SimLissy has done a very similar thing for her save file, and so I did just want to mention that I'm not the first person to come up with this idea. It was also something that was in The Sims 3, and I absolutely loved The Sims 3. Even though the game came out in like 2009, I still play it in 2021. It is just such a beautiful game, and yeah, there was a similar thing in The Sims 3, and I really wanted to implement it into The Sims 4 and into my save file. But anyway, getting back and actually talking about the build. So even though I did design this house to maybe be for a single sim, obviously you could have a couple living in this house if you wanted to, but I was also thinking if you actually wanted to, you could actually have a family living in this house. So as you can see, we do actually have the garage, which is separate to the actual house itself. I was thinking that maybe you've got some elders and there's some parents and they've got a child, and maybe the child wants to be an actress or an actor, but they haven't got enough money to actually move out yet, and so they are living in their parents' garage. I really like that idea. I feel like that would be quite a good idea for a storyline. As well as that, you could obviously just make that room into, like the garage room, into maybe like a hobbies room. Maybe you wanting to make that into a gym or a home office. Honestly, the possibilities are endless because they're completely blank rooms. When you actually download this house off the gallery, if you have a single sim, there will be around about 1,200 simoleons left. So your sims can buy a bed, your sims can maybe buy a laptop, and maybe something else that they want to buy. But the idea is, as your sim goes through their career and they kind of get a little bit more money, your sims can obviously decorate the house in any way that they want to. I also forgot to mention, because I do actually want to mention it quickly in case anyone is curious, I did actually use a caravan on the exterior of this build in kind of like the driveway area. If anyone is curious, that caravan is from Strangerville. I just felt like it fit in so perfectly with Delso Valley, and it just kind of suited the surrounding area. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I'm just going in the build now and actually just putting some furniture items down, the kitchen area and then the bathroom area, and then I am just going to finish it off at the exterior of the build and just do a little terrain paint in the back garden. But anyway guys, I have actually reached the end of this voiceover, so as always you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you could just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedbuilding video. Bye guys.